past, and in the Bronx tonight, we've got college basketball from the Atlantic 10 Conference. Davidson is 0-3 in the A-10, trying to snap that skid as they come to what's typically been friendly confines, the Rose Hill Gym, to take on the Fordham Rams. Joined by Andrew Bogan, Chambria Tribal Peace down on the court, Mike Watts on hand up in the rafters. And as we get ready for what's be an exciting night of basketball, two teams that really are going after a win tonight for very different reasons, Andrew. You think about what Kyle Rose has done in the last 3 games, it's not hard to imagine why Fordham looks a lot different than non-conference.
Keith Ergo's squad is defense first, will always be defense first, and Kyle usually is at the forefront of that. But all of a sudden, this is a decent offensive team as well, because guys like Kyle Rose are scoring the 16.7 over his last 3 games. Put it all together, the most points, Mike, he's ever scored over a 3-game stretch in his college career, doing it at the right time here as a 5th-year senior, trying to lead his team to a 2nd consecutive strong Atlantic 10 finish. There's Grant Huffman. Similar goals for him this year at Elder Statesman for the Wildcats, coming off a career-high 24 points in their last outing, a tough loss at GW. Those points on top of the usual damage he does defensively and passing. You can see there 5 assists per game.
That leads the Atlantic 10, also 8th in steals. He had a stretch of 18 straight points down the stretch, and that's something Keith Ergo is going to have to keep an eye on. They want to wear him down. But moreover, Andrew, when you talk to Keith Ergo, it's great that they went and got 2 really good wins on the road at Foggy Bottom in D.C. and then going to Olean through all the snow and the congestion at St. Bonaventure over the weekend. But they're 0-1 in conference here in the Rose Hill Gym, losing to LaSalle. They don't want to slip on that banana peel again. This was arguably the best home team Fordham had ever created last year. They have to find a way to find that magic again tonight.
They only lost 2 games in this building last year. They've already lost 5 times here at Rose Hill Gym, and more importantly, they've yet to build on big wins. They need to do that here tonight. Matt McKillop just wants a win in the Atlantic 10 right now.
The last time Matt McKillop's team were programmed, Davidson went 0-3 to start conference play. They were in the SoCon, and it was when Magic and Bird met in the Final Four. So now today, looking to get to 1-3 and start their climb back up in the A-10.
So neither you nor I alive the last time Davidson began conference play anywhere 0-3.
And look, the pressure around Davidson is immense because of what Matt and, of course, his father Bob orchestrated over the last 3.5 decades. And with that pressure, Fordham's trying to be the come-up, happy-go-lucky story. Davidson's been dominant for a long time, and that comes with a bit of a weight around your neck.
It's hard to be successful. It's hard then to sustain that success as well. And Davidson has some unique issues that we'll talk about during the broadcast as well, in terms of roster building, things that they don't do that other schools do to keep that success going. But usually they find a way. Had a great non-conference start to the season, and albeit did open up with 3 tough opponents to begin league play, had a chance to win at least 2 of them, but have yet to get to the finish line here in the Atlantic 10.
Timbilla and Bailey will tip us off tonight. Davidson wins the opening tip. Jeffrey Clark, Nathan Farrell, and Greg Evans, the officials. With his Davidson team, an unchanged lineup with Bailey, Durkin, Kochera, Skogman, and of course the inimitable Grant Huffman. This is Bailey against Timbilla, and he wins that first early battle of the night.
And that's a sophomore who has started every single game since he got onto campus, averaging 10 points, just under 5 rebounds a game.
Fordham has an unchanged lineup. That's an early foul to David Skogman, a redshirt senior from Wisconsin, against Bador. Here's Bailey inside.
And this is just straight one-on-one, body against body, looking for an opening. Started right, goes back left, and then a nice finish off the glass.
Fordham returned Joshua Rivera against St. Bonaventure as the Rams inbound into the backcourt. They keep Will Richardson in the starting lineup with Rose, Medor, Charlton, and the big Timbilla, who set the screen for Medor. Richardson straight on. High arcing rebound. Bailey got beneath it. And Huffman could really push the pace. This is a Davidson team that scores a lot in the first 7 seconds and a lot in the last 7 seconds of the shot clock. That's good work from Connor Kochera to the basket.
Was ready for Abdou Timbilla, one of the best shot blockers in the country. Went up, took the contact, finished through it.
Davidson, a 4-0 lead, a minute 10 into the game. Rose slithers along the baseline. Medor kicks. Charlton step back three. Didn't go. Rebound by Skogman. Huffman turned away. There's the mismatch with Skogman. Instead, it's Durkin. Huffman throwing inside. Rose sniffed it out, tips it out of bounds.
So we're going to get into this a lot, especially early in the game, setting the table here. If you look up Ken Palm, other websites like that, you see Davidson is 275th in the country in pace. But that number is misleading, as both Matt McKillop and Keith Urkel will tell you, because they're very good scoring in the first 8 seconds of a possession. If that doesn't happen, that's when they get slow and deliberate and take their time deep in the shot clock. So there's almost two different Davidson offenses that you have to prep for when you're playing them.
Charlton turns to Medor. Rams trail by 4, 2 minutes gone. It's Fordham going deep into the shot clock this time around. Charlton tried to push off. Richardson with 5. Richardson awkwardly off his heels. Tip out on the offensive rebound and out to Rose. That's an area Fordham has really excelled in this year, rebounding on the offensive glass, second in the country, but no chance to get to that. Fordham doing a good job keeping Huffman, really exposing them in transition moments. Bailey spins free. Floater didn't go, got his own miss. Kuchera from downtown. What a start for Davidson, the first 7 points.
They changed their lineup their last time out by to get a better start. Rhode Island actually got the first couple of points in that one. But the overall start was better for Davidson. This is better right from the opening tip at 7-0.
Huffman glides out to Skogman, puts it on the deck, fouled by Timbilla. Well, you asked when we talked to Matt McKillop this week why they made the move to bring Durkin into the starting lineup. They're going to bring Logan in off the bench, a real defensive stopper near the rim. And it is to get a different spark and also get Brizzy going in a different way.
Bobby Durkin's a freshman, doesn't play like a freshman to use the cliche. He's confident, knocks out open jumpers. Brizzy is a Villanova transfer, had been starting, is probably their best one-on-one defender, but could not buy a basket. Durkin was knocking down 10, 11 points a game. So they make that flip to try and really get both of them going. Durkin's immediate offense and a different look for Brizzy.
Good find. Logan got fouled, and Timbilla picks up his second in the first 3:35. And that is a continuance of an ongoing problem.
And so is on the offensive end being empty so far through 3+ minutes, but this is on one trip down the floor. Timbilla gets caught twice, leaving his feet unnecessarily. Once closing out on Skogman, top of the arc, here down low, and now he might be done for this entire first half.
He comes off. Elijah Gray replaces him. Timbilla limited to 18 minutes with 4 fouls at St. Bonaventure, and yet there's a 4-minute stint where he grabbed 5 rebounds and blocked 3 shots. It arguably really changed the nature of that game. Rebound awkwardly off the top of the backboard, grabbed by Gray.
You might be saying something like that often, Mike, because neither one of these teams is all that good at shooting free throws right now.
True enough. It really cost Davidson the most recent game against GW. Charlton with the find. Too greasy for Gray. Shot clock at 5. Bouncing into Logan. Fadeaway jumper, no. And the Rams have started 0 of 6 from the field. Huffman with the mouth guard. He's missing a tooth now for the last couple games. I suppose that tooth isn't coming back. That's more chronic. That won't count. And a foul on the floor and a timeout. Davidson looking much better than your typical 0-3.
Working hard on the offensive glass. A second look, and Kuchera makes it 3.
Welcome back inside Rosehill Gymnasium, where Davidson leads Fordham 8-0. Fordham's head coach Keith Ergo said that he wants his guys to experience New York City since they do go to school here. So him and his staff have been setting up outings for the guys to really experience all that they can. Just recently, they went to the NBA PA where they had a practice. Afterwards, they got dressed up in some nice custom suits and went to a Broadway show and also got a team dinner. He said that Fordham has so much to offer as a school, but also within the city, and he wants his guys to take advantage of that.
Thank you, Maria. You know, last year is MJ the Musical. They went to the opera a couple of years ago. This year's the Lion King.
The Bogish family is going to see Lion King this weekend, so I'm glad that the boys went and warmed things up for my kids. And then, that's part of this university's draw
Right.
For all students, not just athletes, but it is certainly a big part of the recruiting pitch when they're trying to, for any of these sports, bring people to this campus, this beautiful campus in the Bronx, the one that's in the heart of Manhattan, and the ability to be on a Ram van or a railroad or a subway and be in Manhattan in no time.
Fordham's defense creates the turnover. It's Richardson. He's fouled by Huffman. And this may be Fordham's first chance at points. Rams are 0 for 6 from the field, 0 for 4 from downtown. Davidson off to an 8-0 start.
But this is what they need. It starts with Kyle Rose playing defense and then Richardson's speed. Davidson thought Huffman got back in time to make that a charge, but Huffman didn't ever sell it. He just stayed there and put Richardson down, and Fordham finally is on the board. I want to point out, too, Mike, we went to break off a foul. It was on Elijah Gray because Huffman was just running to the middle, and Gray just put a shoulder into him, which you're supposed to make guys feel things when they're going through the paint, but it was too much, and it was right in front of Jeff Clark, and he's not going to let that slide. So they've got Tim Billa with 2 fouls that were avoidable, and his replacement, Gray, comes in and takes one that he doesn't need to take.
Richardson showing some pressure. Here's Huffman up the floor. Logan getting early burn in this game. Bailey drives. Bailey bouncing into Charlton, skying up Gray, ahead to Richardson. Fordham back to level, 500 on the season, 8-8, 2-1 in the conference. With a couple of road wins, Gray got stripped, still alive. Ramad Dean against the contact fell out, and the foul's on Durkin.
I like Dean, though, the effort to get the loose ball back, but then more importantly, went to work himself. Showed a little more confidence in his offensive game, put it on the floor, barged away in the paint, the pump fake to draw the contact, and then the unfriendly rim prevents the chance of a 3-point play.
Only Dean's 4th free throw attempt of the season.
The last one was against FDU on November 30th. It was last year, his last free throw.
If he shoots like that, he should get there more often.
Well, if he plays like that, he should get there more often on the offensive glass. And instead of the kick out for maybe an open 3, the effort to get in the paint and get to the rim and get to the line.
I think there's been some reasonable conversations. It doesn't feel like Gray or Dean, both in their sophomore seasons, or Jameer Tripp, have impacted this Fordham team as much as some underclassmen impact other A-10 programs yet. And yet you look at the last 3 games, we're starting to get a real feel for what they can bring. Brizzy into the game, the Villanova transfer, and he got tugged by Medor, and Fordham has their fourth personal foul.
Well, we've heard this argument more than once on the Fordham side, Mike, that this team on paper, in theory, is more talented than the one that won 25 games a year ago, but it's not as experienced, it's not as mature, and that has hurt them at times. But it's also now January, and at some point, you're not a young sophomore, you're not a freshman anymore. You need to do what's expected of you, or maybe even exceed that, and that's what those guys are starting to do right now.
Wiggling all the way, Kuchera. Stems off 4 straight Fordham points. Rams are still 0 from the field. 4 points at the free throw line, but on the last couple of trips down the floor. Gray spots. That falls in, and it didn't look that pretty going up either. Mission accomplished. Rams are off the schneid.
But that's a shot he's got in his bag, and they're going to give it to him, which they did there. He should take it and knock it down.
Huffman trying to deal with Tripp. Bailey on the way up.
Well, I thought that pass was going to be for Logan, who was rolling off the screen, but instead it's Bailey coming a few steps further to the left. Either way, good look by Huffman to get us team some free throws.
Reed Bailey goes to the free throw line. As Coach Matt McKillop says, he could be among the most improved in the Atlantic 10 this year. Started all 32 games last year. Only scored 10 or more 5 times. He's averaging 10 points a game this season, and now he's got 3 and a couple of boards. Sophomore from Harvard, Massachusetts. He's got guard skills and really enviable length. Hunter Adam off the bench replaces Bailey.
The Bailey family doesn't mess around. His dad Nathan played at Navy, then Pitt. He had 2 sisters, or has 2 sisters that played D1 volleyball, and here he is at 6'10", having a nice sophomore campaign in college hoops for Davidson.
His mom played volleyball at Pitt, too. Those are some long jeans.
Yes. It's no surprise he's 6'10", 230.
Charlton bouncing into Gray. It's a little more engagement this time from Logan, who's able to slap it away. Brizzy leads the charge. Euro through, and the dunk missed by Logan, but he got whacked on the arms. And he'll have to earn it at the free throw line.
Logan does not look like an imposing shot blocker, but he gets the job done on the defensive end. Then he runs the floor. Brizzy takes all the attention, including Gray, trying to block his shot. The smart drop-off leads to these free throws.
I think there's a lot of Logans here from Westfield, New Jersey. Crowd going especially crazy as he went up for that jam.
Yeah, that looks to be about 8 to 10
Logans.
Or at least the Logan party. There they are.
Splits the pair at the line. 2 for 4 now. So the Logans look on. Davidson up by 7. Approaching 7 minutes gone. Charlton turning around the trip motion. Richardson from the free throw line. Left that short, tipped down by Charlton. Tripp's gone in, and he stepped on the baseline.
Probably not the shot Keith Urgo would want from Will Richardson. Kind of a quick release from that right elbow. Charlton, a sneaky good play to tap that ball back into the paint, hoping for a teammate to find it. Tripp almost did. A little too much congestion on the rim to stay in play.
Now, Andrew, we went to that first commercial break, Fordham down 8-0, and you thought this looks in elements like the LaSalle game. As you see how the game's unfolding nearly 8 minutes in, does that still stand?
Yeah, this is, I'd say, an inauspicious start, right? Coming home after a rare, real high-quality win. Very few schools win at St. Bonaventure. Olean is a unique place, a special place.
Logan knocked down by Gray.
And Fordham outplayed the Bonnies for 40 minutes on that home floor.
Charlton off the flyby. Way off. Dean went in for it. He'll stay with Fordham.
So you expect, much like after winning in triple overtime at George Washington, that there'd be carryover to the next game, that you'd start fast. You'd have that same kind of intensity. They didn't start fast against LaSalle, and now here this evening, it took them forever to make a shot, and they're down 7, 8 minutes in.
Dean. Tip back up. Gray, second try. Still didn't go. Oh, there's a lid on it. Dean, a third time the charm. He's going to the line.
So this is one of the best offensive rebounding teams in America, and you just saw them doing all this work, but it's because they keep missing shots. Like, that's just got to be 2 points there from Elijah Gray. That has to be a finish. And they're lucky that they're going to have a chance to point to you with Dean at the free throw line.
Changes are imminent. Ramad Dean back to the line. 3 for 3 today after going 2 for 3 the course of his first 16 games off the bench this year. Akulavu comes in off the bench, provides size. Gray gets a blow. Richardson sits as well as Medor returns. And the only points on the floor for Fordham belong to Ramad Dean, and they've all been at the line. Missed that one.
And the interesting thing to note here, Mike, is that we have not seen Josh Rivera yet. Missed 4 games, came back against Bonaventure. He's in uniform, practiced well and freely, as far as we know yesterday. We were told that. But he has not been in the game just yet. We've already seen Tripp and Akuovo and others.
Tripp. That goes, it won't count. Got hit on the way up. The foul's going to go on Hunter Adam. And a timeout on the floor. Davidson failing to pull away despite Fordham's 1 of 13 shooting start.
The Atlantic 10 Conference, where basketball legends are made, where the brightest stars showcase their skills and compete at the highest level. With 109 postseason appearances over 20 years, the A10 embodies the spirit of competition. Beyond athletics, the conference sets the standard for excellence in both sports and academics, celebrating the relentless pursuit of victory on and off the court. In the A10, greatness has no limits.
See that thing John Morant has? That's a hyperbole. That thing he uses to warm up and stay loose before he throws it down. That thing Tony Finau uses on course between shots. Ooh, that's money. That thing Robin and I use before and after we're on the bike so we can ride harder tomorrow. That thing Erlen Haaland uses before smashing it into the back of the net. That thing that's for everyone. The hyperbole from Hyper Ice. Give your body the daily relief it's been asking for.
You could argue that Davidson wishes they could play Fordham every time they touch the court. After all, third best win percentage against any single opponent in the history of the program. 15-2 all time, 6-1 at Rose Hill Gym. Of course, for this Davidson team today, Fordham not shooting the basketball well at all. Some of that thanks to Davidson. Some of that's just been, at this stage, some poor shot selection and some inability to hit the bunnies.
It's definitely a mix of everything. There's been some good looks, and there's been some bad choices. There's been some good defense. We've already seen a Sean Logan block shot. It's a Fordham field goal in 8 minutes and 21 seconds. These lulls have existed for more, really even going back to last year, the year before that, with a similar collection of players. But in the last handful of games, they've avoided extended stretches, for the most part, like this. But this one at the start of the game is certainly not the way Keith Ergo wanted to go. By the way, we do see Josh Rivera now in the game for the first time.
55 and white for Fordham, dealt with tendonitis in his thigh. Akubu underneath. Tip back up and in by Rose. And Fordham now 2 of 15 and taking advantage of the offensive glass.
If that Rose tip-in hadn't gone in, I would have suggested checking that rim to make sure it was level.
I don't know. Sometimes the air is just blowing in the wrong direction.
It is, yeah. The wind is blowing left to right here inside Rosehill Gym, so that is the tougher end.
That's a Fordham foul.
And here's another recurring problem for Fordham, finding themselves already at 17 fouls very early in a half. So a lot of Davidson free throws on the way.
1 and 1, missed the front end, and that really plagued Davidson last time out too.
They
9
missed 10
of 17.
Yeah, but
Fordham
GW
against St. Bonaventure, and then against GW, similarly 9 of 19. So both teams have struggled. That's Rose off the mark.
GW went 8 of 20 in that game, though. Nobody shot free throws well in that one.
Medor, hands off. This is Rose. His 3 best offensive games in his career streaked together. That's a tie-up. Makuavu involved. Ford will keep the ball with 9 to shoot. Matt McKillop saying we work so much on situational basketball, on free throw shooting, on inbounds plays, how we handle late game situations. It's not lost on him that that's something they've struggled with.
Well, and that's why they are, for the first time since the late 70s, it's why it's so surprising that they're 0-3 in league play. It's why, Mike, they've had a winning record for 22 consecutive seasons. It's because his dad and now him, they focus on the little things. They're not always going to be the deepest team, the most athletic team in the gym, but when it comes down to nuts and bolts, they do all those things correctly to negate some of the other disadvantages they have.
Rolls for 3, puts it in. Fordham within 1 point despite starting 3 of 18, and that's their first made 3 in 9 tries. And the Rams bring some pressure off the make. Kicked out of bounds by Rose. And real danger for the gentleman of WFUV. Here's Rose.
It took a while, almost halfway through the opening half, but the Rams finally have a triple. And now the storyline, Mike, is Davidson should be up by more than 1 the way the Rams began this game offensively.
Only 1 turnover by Davidson, but Fordham's got 18 field goal attempts. Davidson has 9. The Rams have grabbed 8 offensive rebounds. There's the steal forced by Rivera out of his hands. And in what's suddenly become a very full student section here in Rose Hill.
They had a quick meeting with Josh Rivera, who created that turnover with his defense and then looked like a guy who hadn't played a lot of game action in the last couple of weeks, out in the open floor there, and just unable to corral that one and try to get points off the takeaway.
He was down for 4 games, about 20 days, including the Christmas break. 3 from Coach Shera, 2 strong rebound Rivera. Fordham can grab the lead. They started trailing 8-0 inside 4 minutes. Medor knocks it down. From 8-0 down to 15-13 ahead.
The last time I wrote down what they were shooting, they were 1 of 13, and somehow, shortly thereafter, they have a lead.
Suddenly there's some life in the gym. Into the corner, Skogman underneath, Bailey, knocked away, and Kuvu involved. He held it up, gives it off to Medor. Medor against Huffman. Had to rearrange himself. Coach Shera pulls in the miss. Player down for Fordham behind. Huffman lays it in. And Medor remains down and slowly gets back to his feet, putting no weight on his right leg. And that is truly a nightmare for Fordham.
I don't know if it was straight landing, if you went into the basket, but you can see the problem for Jaffe Medor.
5 consecutive games scoring 15 plus, averaging 13 a game. Well, he hasn't been the most efficient scorer. He has been the most vociferous for the Rams.
He has also hit a lot of big shots. He wants the ball in the big moments. He has converted in those moments. There's the drive, the takeoff, and the land is the problem.
He's being carried off by Charlton and Rose.
Still not putting any weight on that leg.
So Jaffe Mador, who we were told this week, with the temperatures plunging into the teens, tends to wear puffy coats in 80-degree weather, the native Floridian.
Well, he told us that he considered coming to Fordham a year earlier, instead went to UTSA because he was afraid of New York winters.
Tripp not afraid of anything. Contact and the bucket.
There is winter, by the way, still in San Antonio, so Jaffe is no longer too bothered by Mother Nature this time of year. As you said, Tripp down the lane, through contact, finishing it. Jameer Tripp has come along slowly, earning trust, earning playing time, but every time now Mikey goes out there, he does something that shows you how special he might be later this season. But certainly by the time he's a sophomore, maybe a junior here in the Bronx.
Brooklyn native, 5 points at St. Bonaventure. The freshman giving some fantastic minutes, but at 6'6", provides mismatches both offensively and defensively. Reed kicks out. Off the heel from Durkin. Fordham by 3, their biggest lead tonight. Gray suffocated by Skogman. Dean battling against Bailey. Tipped by Skogman into the grasp of Grant Bailey. Reed Bailey. All the way down the lane, Huffman. He's headed to the line.
The foul, going to be on Ramad Dean. And if we get a second look at this, Huffman was coming full head of steam here, Mike. And Dean maybe could have planted his feet to try and draw the charge. Instead, contested. See, Dean's already there waiting. And instead of staying where he is, trying to draw the charge, he goes up in the air with Huffman, picks up the personal. And here's Davidson struggling again at the free throw line. And this, much like with Keith Urgo, because Fordham was a very good free throw shooting team a year ago, Matt McKillop is perplexed by these issues for his team as well. Bad free throw shooting. They've had some random games where they've gotten crushed on the glass. And he can't really put his finger on why those are happening, as Huffman makes 1 of 2.
70% as a team on the year. That's 11th in the 15-team Atlantic 10. Tripp. Got that to fall. And with a shriek back, Tripp's fired up. Tripp has 5 off the bench, and Fordham leads by 4, looking for their 3rd straight A-10 win. Grant Huffman around the Bailey screen. Didn't find the roll. Instead, Logan. Huffman has hit a couple baskets here in the last few minutes. He's got 5.
That's crafty. Got Gray going to his left, and then step back in the other direction into free air to lay that one in.
Gray all alone. Rebound Durkin. Huffman ran out of real estate, throws it up to Kuchera. Logan spots and hits. Logan's got 5. Davidson regained the lead.
That shot looked pretty. He's only taken 11 threes on the year, so you'll give him that one, and now you make sure he doesn't get another.
Gray, long 2. Pulled in by Kuchera. Huffman from the clear. Cleveland area, out of Aurora, Ohio, St. Ed's grad, great basketball program in Lakewood on the near west side of Cleveland. Didn't get that to fall in the paint. Rebound wrestled away by Charlton.
Go ahead, you can say it. The bad side of Cleveland, the wrong choice of high schools.
He could have been an Ignatius Wildcat, but he's a Wildcat now.
He saw the error in his ways growing up and changed it in college.
Finally. Nope. Eagles. Gray. Slapped away by Logan. Huffman. Soaring. Fell out. Reed. Gray. Knocks it out of bounds. Well, Fordham getting scoring from a player that recently has been on fire and another that's starting to find his way in the college game.
There's Kyle Rose's triple. Fordham needed that, and now Tripp off the bench, forcing his way to the rim for points.
These are my tissue box.
Went down and had to be helped off the court by two of his teammates. He wasn't putting any pressure on his right leg. Now Fordham's athletic trainer took him over to the training table where she took off his shoe, ended up wrapping his ankle. He put his shoe back on, took a few tender steps, and then was able to walk his way back into the Fordham huddle.
Thank you, Maria. Appreciate it. You know, the thing about Medor, we've seen him have elements of being a little bit streaky at times, but what we do know is his explosion, even in his second year of high-level Division I basketball, is truly unique, and Fordham needs that in their lineup. He's the only guy with that club and truly in his bag.
Yeah, you can't teach his quickness. You can't teach his ability to contort his body and get shots to the rim, draw contact, at least earn free throws, if not finish. And plus the confidence to want the shot in the biggest spots.
True enough. Here's Richardson, who's never shied away. Rose with the jump step, lost his dribble. Dean knocks down a triple. So the lead seesawing back and forth, under 5.5 to play in the opening half. Huffman is tied up. The double came again. Huffman lobs. Bailey, the high catch. Out of the hands of Logan. Davidson feels like they've been gashed in a number of different ways in conference play. In transition against Dayton. Uncharacteristic three-point shooting from Rhode Island. Kick out, never reached Rose. Huffman takes it the distance, spinning and scoring. Wow.
Again, one-on-one with Dean. Took him on the spin move, the finish. He could always pass Mike. He could always rebound. Always a pesky defender. But now he's scored it like never before either in his college career.
Rose off the side of the backboard. And here comes Durkin. The freshman who already has the presence of an upperclassman. Kuchera from downtown. 10 points in the first half for Connor Kuchera.
It's been a little feast or famine for Kuchera this year. He's averaging 10 a game, but he's either well over that or under it. They're 7-1, Mike, this year when he scores 10 or more, and he's got 10 right now.
A good omen for Davidson. Dean again. Not that time. Huffman. Here's that second stage of the Davidson offense. Get into the motion after Huffman got stymied. Bailey hit by Dean. Dean's second personal. And there will be free throws on the other side of the timeout for the Wildcats. Connor Kuchera, 7-1, scoring 10 plus this year. 10 in the first half. Davidson by 3. Trailed 8-0 early. Davidson a nice 6-0 run here to pull back in front. Rims were trying all week to get fans to recreate the Rose Thrill madness that we saw last year. And a good crowd here in the gym. Now they just look for something to really energize them and make that feeling a little more cogent.
This is definitely the largest collection of students in recent memory here inside Rosehill Gym. Obviously, the last couple of weeks, the kids were home for winter break. That hurts the cause. They're here today, but as you said, a slow start, 1 of 13 from the floor.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of reasons to be loud just yet, but they're ready when the moment comes.
Reed Bailey attempts 3 and 4 at the free throw line upcoming.
And here's a chance, Mike, we were just talking about Davidson kind of kicking themselves probably for not being farther ahead when the Rams went the first 4+ minutes without a point.
Yep.
Couldn't buy a basket. Now they've got a chance with a strong last 4 minutes to maybe have the lead that they should have already been at.
4 for 4 at the free throw line for Reed Bailey. He's got 6 points. Davidson ahead by 5. Trip on the handoff from Akuavu. Charlton, Rivera, and Richardson complete the Fordham 5. Richardson banging inside, contested, drops in.
I guess so. I'm not sure that's what Will had in mind as he weaved his way through traffic, but gets it up and gets it in.
Huffman is staring into a trio of Rams who all have their eyes trained right on him. Kuchera again. Charlton skies for the carom. Richardson for 3. Knocks it down. 5 straight points for Will Richardson. And Fordham back on level terms. Bouncing in, Logan found Bailey all alone for the flush.
That is the danger. That's the risk you run with this kind of 1-3-1 setup. The baseline is open, and it only takes 1 or 2 good passes to find somebody free for a dunk like that.
Tripp circulates Richardson. Akuavu, the transfer from Binghamton, still finding his way and starting to get some quality minutes off the bench. Charlton, that famed mid-range game. Such a sweet sound flicking through.
Akuavu's not an offensive player, Mike. He's not going to do much going towards the rim when he catches on the mid-post there, but he just kept his composure long enough. Initially was double-teamed, eventually waited and found Charlton for that bucket.
Kuchera game-high 10. Here's Jarvis Moss. Transfer from Stanford from the corner, didn't go. Put back Bailey on the Kuchera miss. Is this game going in the Louvre? I don't know about that, but it's been competitive and fun to watch. Richardson felt the contact, didn't get the extended push toward the basket to fall, but he's got a couple of free throws coming up. Richardson starting to feel it.
Well, he gets the drive and the lucky bounce in the previous possession, comes back down feeling good, quick release 3, pure off that left wing from Richardson. Yeah, some of the raw numbers, Mike, here are not great shooting-wise, especially on the Fordham side, but we've seen Davidson on the other end offensively, be Davidson. They've run their sets, they've got the back cuts, they've moved the ball well, led to some easy hoops, and they'll certainly take having any lead at this point here by halftime.
Richardson will shoot a pair. 8 points on the game. And let's talk about Will, because you look at his season on the whole as well. The numbers haven't been great. He's averaging 10 a game at 32% from the field, 25% from 3, shooting about 50% from 3 in A10 play last year when he really came on in his freshman season. But you talk with Keith Ergo, and he talks about how hard he's worked, his progression to the starting lineup with Rivera's absence, his progression this sophomore season.
And he knew what was going to be asked of him the second last season ended.
To be the guy, or one of the guys. Tipped away in the hands of Charlton against Huffman. Out of bounds, stays with Fordham. Huffman saying, if it's not a foul, I didn't touch it.
And that was Greg Evans, who's ahead of the play. Charlton starts this. Greg Evans didn't see who that went out on. Jeff Clark was trailing, Mike. He's the one that gave it to Fordham.
Under a minute to play in the first half. Richardson hoists. He got hit at the end of it. There is a foul on the floor under the basket, and the Rams are going to the free throw line on the 9th Davidson team foul. It'll be 1 of 1.
Matt McKillop just was told that he has said enough for the moment by Nathan Farrell, and Matt said, "I think you're right," and he walked away down the sideline. The officiating, I mean, coaches are never happy, but there have been some oddly reffed games in this building. Keith Urgo has walked off the floor in this position, frustrated, having extended conversations, campaigning for calls, but here it's Matt McKillop's turn.
In the under 12 timeout, Keith Urgo had a chat with Jeff Clark on the floor and politely made his way back. We've also seen the opposite, where he shows a tad too much emotion, ends up costing some free throws.
Yeah, and I think to Keith's credit, I don't know if it was he did it on his own. I don't know if somebody pointed it out, but he has definitely calmed down a little bit on the sideline. He's still going to go to bat for his guys, but he eases in to the energy against the official a little more than he had been.
You know, both these guys in their second year as head coach and both longtime assistants. You know, Matt McKillop, you and I were talking pregame and a little bit with him too. It's one thing to replace a legend. It's another thing to replace your dad. What if you're replacing both? And you're never gonna win everybody over in his position until you win it all, and that's got to be difficult to live with.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be nearly impossible to do what his dad did. His dad's a legend, and his dad's a coach's coach. Every coach loves Bob McKillop and studies Bob McKillop and talks about out-of-bounds plays, sidelines out-of-bounds plays. He is universally loved, and not that Matt isn't, but no one was going to fare well comparison-wise post Bob McKillop, and now Matt has to deal with the easy, quick response of, daddy's boy, nepotism. Like, it's a built-in reason to go after him when he doesn't need it.
Yeah, and Cochera earns the foul off of Charlton, so Fordham has put Davidson into the double bonus. Davidson will shoot now, so Cochera at the line. You know, I follow, it's called Basketball or BB Immersion. Chris Oliver puts together a lot of sets from individual teams and diagrams what creates a good play in various different circumstances. At the start of January, he put out a 6-minute YouTube clip exclusively on the inbound sets of Matt McKillop.
6 minutes of inbounds plays.
And basically said, this is how you do it. And yes, a lot of that stuff, and Matt will say it, this is stuff my dad ran for 30 years, but you're always tweaking those things. And he said he learned so much, 10 years of learning in 1 year's time. And now in his second year as head coach, had this team 10-3 in non-conference, 0-3 in the A-10. Fordham's 2-1 in the conference, looking to take a lead into halftime. The final 10 seconds. Rose from the corner. That's good. Kyle Rose from downtown. Huffman the other way. Cochera doesn't go.